I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times with Arkansas News headlines on Thursday, March the 19th. Well, it finally happened. The House Revenue and Taxation Committee today finally got moving on a bill that's going to restore the full capital gains tax cut that was passed by the 2013 legislature. Asa Hutchinson wanted to roll a little bit of that back to provide more money to cover his income tax cut that covered people making between $21,000 and $75,000 a year. This didn't sit well, particularly with the House of Representatives. They want to get this full capital gains tax cut back. You may know this is the tax on unearned income, sale of assets, stock, property, that sort of thing. Sometimes the biggest winners on capital gains are people who sell stock that they got at little or no cost as a part of starting up corporations. It can be a huge windfall for people like the Waltons who have had big chunks of inherited stock. In fact, the rollback of this bill, which is expected to pass, will provide a total tax exemption for the amount of a profit over $10 million. We've had a banker in Arkansas this year that sold $25 million worth of stock. $15 million of that gain, he won't have to pay any tax on it at all. Somebody making $21,000 a year, they'll pay some income tax. Speaking of which, there's an interesting question about revenue out there. $20 million was won by the state in a class action lawsuit dating back to Dustin McDaniel's time over improper reporting by the Standard & Poor's Financial Rating Service. That money's sitting in an account at the Attorney General's office that by law is capped at $1 million. There's some pretty interesting high-level negotiations going on about how that money's going to be used up. More tax cuts, maybe? Maybe we should talk about tax cuts for poor people. We're on our way to the most unfair income tax bill in Arkansas history, I think it's safe to say. Asa Hutchinson has given a tax break for, as I've said, middle-income taxpayers. The House of Representatives has begun work to make sure the wealthiest Arkansans get a tax break on their capital gains. One group has been left out. There are almost 400,000 Arkansans who make less than $21,000 a year. They pay $300 to $400 million in income taxes. They didn't get a single cent of tax cut under the Asa Hutchinson tax plan. It's really kind of unbelievable. Elsewhere in the news, the Arkansas Supreme Court today in a 4-3 decision upheld the 2013 law that attempted to find a constitutional way for use of the lethal injection drugs. A circuit judge, Wendell Griffin, had held that too much power was delegated to the state correction department to decide on the chemical cocktail that's used to kill people on death row. The Supreme Court voted 4-3, no, that there were still some guidelines, but it didn't exceed the authority. It's kind of an interesting side note. The Arkansas Supreme Court is now majority women. 4 of the justices are women. The 4 women voted together to uphold the death penalty law. The 3 old men on the court were on the other side, that the law had gone too far. The Little Rock School District lawsuit continues today, also in Judge Wendell Griffin's court. It would happen. Second day of testimony. They may not finish today. The plaintiffs are essentially putting on their case that the state acted arbitrarily and capriciously in taking over the state's largest school district and perhaps acted unconstitutionally. There's still a motion pending to put a halt to these proceedings while the state Supreme Court decides the state education department's belief that they're immune from lawsuit in this matter. The mayor of Little Rock, Mark Stodola, gave his State of the City address today. As you might guess, he thinks the state of the city is just great, and his leadership has produced all kinds of wonderful things for the city. Crime is going down, development abounds, things are just wonderful. He did mention the fact that North Little Rock is trying to build a new building for the Arts Center, which is currently placed in Little Rock. He thinks it ought to stay here, but as yet, still no specifics about it. I thought the speech was particularly lacking in a key thing that's been making news elsewhere, not a mention of equal rights for gay people in Little Rock, which probably has the biggest and most visible population of people of sexual minorities. I think they deserved at least a pat on the back from the mayor. There wasn't any forthcoming today. Elsewhere in the news, jury in Crittenden County has awarded $122 million in both actual and punitive damages against Randeep Mann, the former Russellville doctor who was convicted of bombing the chairman of the state medical board in his car in West Memphis several years ago. Whether there's $122 million left in Randeep Mann's estate to pay anything, I don't know, but it sent the doctor who was injured lawyer said, it sent a pretty strong message about the community outrage over what had occurred. And finally, I'd say get your dancing shoes out, except you probably don't have an invitation. Tonight is the night for the traditional Speaker's Ball and President Pro Tem dinner. The leaders of the legislature will be feted tonight at the Marriott Hotel and also at the Old State House next door. In years past, special interest lobbies have paid for this meal. Under the new ethics law, they can't be out front as paying for this dinner, otherwise legislators couldn't take it. The Republican Party of Arkansas has stepped up to sponsor this event. It is not inviting the public. It also won't reveal who it has invited outside the legislature. It won't tell me who's paying for the party. I would be fairly surprised if there aren't some corporate contributions that are paying for these free meals for legislators tonight. Did you think you were authorizing paid free meals not open to the public by corporate interests when you passed Amendment 94, the so-called Ethics Amendment? I don't think voters thought that, but I didn't really expect it would produce much better ethics from the Arkansas legislature, and I haven't really been disappointed this year. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.